Welcome to this explainer. So let's just jump right in with a pretty massive paradox. We live in a time where we've literally never had more material wealth, better tech, or higher social status. But look around or even look inside. Beneath all that shiny modern success, so many of us are feeling totally hollow, totally stressed out, and just profoundly anxious. Why is that? Well, today we're unpacking Eckhart Tolle's brilliant book, A New Earth. We're going to dive right into the actual fabric of human consciousness, figure out why chasing more has left us so spiritually bankrupt, and see how a massive shift in how we perceive things might literally be the only way to save ourselves and, frankly, our world. Tolle actually hits the nail on the head right away with a pretty wild thought. We are destroying the planet because we are trapped in the mind. It's super tempting to just look at the news, right? The corruption, the wars, all the global crises, and just blame the system. But Tolle argues something way deeper. He says these aren't just external bugs in our society, they are the devastating symptoms of a completely dysfunctional human consciousness. We are basically trapped in a collective ego. And honestly, until we fix that internal software error, no new law or shiny piece of technology is going to stop us from tearing the world apart. Which brings us to part one, the anatomy of ego, and the illusion of the fake self. You know, we usually get the ego totally wrong. We think it just means someone is super arrogant or full of themselves, but it is so much sneakier than that. The ego is actually this manufactured identity. It's a fake self-image that our busy minds just make up, and it completely depends on external things to prove it even exists. It's the ultimate consumption trap. You buy the expensive watch, the big house, the nice car, and your brain goes, I own this, therefore I am worth more. But it's an illusion. A heartbreaking one, really. Stuff can't change your actual intrinsic worth. When you tie your identity to things that can be lost, broken, or stolen, you're literally just trapping yourself in a constant, exhausting state of fear. But it's not just about physical stuff. The ego is basically a starving parasite, and its absolute favorite food is complaining and resentment. To survive, it constantly needs to feel superior, and the easiest way to do that, making someone else wrong. Think about it. The road rage and heavy traffic, the urge to snap at a coworker, or just the human obsession with toxic gossip. By pointing out everyone else's flaws, the ego artificially puffs up its own righteousness. It's a desperately toxic cycle. Every single time you hold on to a grudge or engage in petty gossip, you are literally serving up a 5-star meal to your own false identity. And then there are the exhausting social masks we wear all day long. We just slide into these transient roles without even thinking about it. The demanding boss, the helpless victim, even the self-righteous good person. The real dysfunction starts when you get so caught up in playing these parts that you forget they're just an act. I mean, if you bring your ruthless boss persona home to the dinner table, your family relationships are going to shatter under that fake weight. On the flip side, your authentic self wakes up the second you realize, hey, I am not the character I'm playing. An awakened person observes these roles as just temporary responsibilities, completely separate from who they actually are. Let's move into part two, breaking the chains of the pain body and healing generational trauma. So, how do we actually break these chains? Well, first, we have to admit our absolute obsession with what Tolle calls object consciousness. Basically, humanity spends its whole existence hypnotized by the stuff we can see and the endless, nonstop stream of thoughts running through our heads. If your mind suddenly tells you, I'm a failure, your ego immediately accepts it as absolute fact. But the awakened state, it asks you to step back into observer mode. You have to stop believing every single anxious thought that pops up. Watch them like they're just temporary clouds passing through the sky. You aren't the anxiety. You are the vast, quiet sky where that anxiety is just temporarily hanging out. And when we don't step back and observe those thoughts, we create something pretty terrifying, the pain body. It's this heavy, invisible pileup of old emotional pain, and it hits us on two levels. Personally, it's your childhood trauma, your hidden scars, your past heartbreaks, but collectively, it's the inherited trauma of all of human history, all those echoes of wars and systemic conflicts. When your personal pain collides with that massive collective history and you aren't conscious of it, the result is explosive. That's what we see: massive emotional outbursts, totally irrational behavior, and deeply rooted violence. This pain body literally feeds on negative energy, and the only way to starve it out is to hit it with the light of awareness, just observing it without judging it. Which leads us nicely to part three, awakened doing, and living a life of acceptance, enjoyment, and enthusiasm. Most of society is completely stuck in the delusion that our only reason for being here is our outer purpose. This is the realm of doing. Building the huge career, hitting those external goals, constantly chasing the next big milestone. But outer purpose is always shifting. It's totally impermanent. If you go out and achieve massive external success, but you haven't built up your inner purpose, you're pretty much guaranteed an empty, anxious life. Inner purpose is all about being. It's that quiet, universal practice of just staying fully conscious and anchored in the present moment, no matter what you're actually doing on the outside. And the beautiful thing is, this inner purpose is exactly the same for every single one of us. To help us align what we do with that inner purpose, Tolle gives us a brilliant, super practical framework. Basically, whatever action you take, it needs to be rooted in one of 3 awakened modes. First up, acceptance. That means yielding to the present moment without complaining in your head. If you're stuck in traffic or paying your taxes, fighting it just creates stress. Accepting it brings genuine peace. Second is enjoyment. This is when you totally surrender to the process of what you're doing, whether it's cooking a meal or writing an email, without obsessing over the final result. And third, enthusiasm. That's when your deep enjoyment merges with a huge world-serving vision. If you're taking action outside of these 3 modes, you're really just creating more dysfunction and feeding the ego. And that brings us to our final vision, part 4, a new earth, where inner peace heals the external world. Now, as we start to wake up, there's one final, incredibly sneaky trap waiting for us, the spiritual ego. A lot of times when people get into meditation or deep philosophy, the ego doesn't actually disappear. It just puts on a new outfit. It starts whispering, hey, I'm way more enlightened and spiritually advanced than all these normal materialistic people. That illusion of superiority is so dangerous. True awakening is actually profoundly humbling. It's realizing that beneath all the weird ego masks we wear, the core essence inside every single person is beautifully, flawlessly identical. So how do we actually experience this today, right now, in this exact moment? We practice space consciousness. Seriously, I invite you to just pause right now, take 3 deep, deliberate breaths. Listen to the absolute silence in the room around you. But even more importantly, try to feel that profound quiet space that exists in the microscopic gap between your thoughts. That silent space isn't empty at all. It is fiercely alive. It is your actual, true source of power, just sitting there quietly beneath all the endless chaotic noise of your busy mind. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final thought that can literally dissolve that false self completely. We spend our whole lives frantically trying to build identities out of the cars we drive, our job titles, and the heavy emotional baggage we carry from our past. But if you strip all of that away, if you are not your stuff, and if you're not the temporary roles you play, and you are not your traumatic past, then who is the silent, eternal presence observing the world through your eyes right now? I really encourage you to just sit with that beautiful mystery, because discovering the profound answer to that question is the true dawn of a new earth. Thank you so much.